This is the Classic Auto Mall podcast. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Yes, the Classic Auto Mall is a real mall just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 290, featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And good. I'm talking, but I don't hear myself. Oh, it's because I probably turned it down. Don't give me too much control. You know, I've noticed in the videos that I've been watching of myself that when I wear these headsets, that it looks like I have zero hair on the top of my head. So somehow
that's why I wear a hat.
It's a mirage before that when you don't have the headphones on, but when you have the headphones on, apparently it looks like no hair. So today is show number 115. We're recording this on November the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, we're a month and a half away from 2024.
Yeah. That is correct. Fact check, true. Almost Christmas times. Best time of the year, I think.
Yes, we've already started buying Christmas gifts for the grandkids. Of course, I love buying for the grand boys because they love Hot Wheels cars and Matchbox cars and tracks. And we're going to get them, I think. Well, I better be quiet if they listen to the show. But
I've always said that despite the world events, you always know things will be okay because the new car models are out. So once the next year models come, you know that, next year's got to happen.
That's exactly right.
Too many sales at risk.
The world is going to continue on whether we like it or not. But anyway, welcome to the show. The show, like I said, number 115. It's the middle of November. Lots of things going on, including here.
Yes.
A little technical difficulty.
We've got like 6 engineers working on the show now. There's just a lot of bells and whistles.
When we run the credits at the end of the show, there are going to be like 80 people. You know.
Yeah, get ready, Stuart. We're going to unionize soon.
Quite the team.
Yeah, quite the team and quite the production to put on this thing. It's way more work than we ever thought,
but way more fun.
It is way more fun.
It's
I tell you, it's my fun day, and I see that we're buying the expensive batteries these days.
The Kirkland, I just grabbed these out, running out of the house. These are my emergency supply.
Do those last even a day?
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know.
Probably.
I can't imagine that Kirkland has a battery factory. They buy them from Duracell or Eveready.
I don't know about that.
It's like tires. They say that there's only a handful of manufacturers, and they just rebrand them for other manufacturers who have some traction, I guess. No pun intended.
Like store brand. Yeah. Traction.
JCPenney tires or Sears tires or whomever else tires.
Yeah.
Anyway, busy week, a lot going on. We've had some great shows here. Consignments are literally free. Oh, thank you to the Pat Travers Band. We don't want to forget.
Always thank them.
Always thankful to have the Pat Travers Band here. Guess how many cars we have in inventory now, Steve? No, don't guess because you'll guess something outlandish. And
no. Last week we had 1,030.
Yeah.
So we're probably 1,045.
1,053.
Woo! Wow.
We are full. Bill Borneman gives me the stink eye. He's our stringo operator and vehicle operations manager, and he's like, we have no more room for any cars. And I go, well, sure we do. And he goes, no, we really don't have any more room for any more cars. Sure we do. And then we find a little room.
Yeah, our front desk takes up about 4 cars. Where you can probably shrink up the front desk to put a little coffee table out there.
I think so. Just a little table and a couple of folding chairs, and we'll solve that. And then we can get rid of my partner's band organ. The big Wurlitzer. That's good for another 2 or 3 cars. So we got plenty. And the Wright brothers airplane that needs to go.
Yes, somebody buy that. It's for sale.
It's for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I say it's for sale. Certain price points make things not for sale. So maybe it's a little pricey. I don't know. I don't know what something like that's worth. There's no price guide for a replica Wright brothers 1900 something.
Yeah, well, it belongs in a museum though. It should be. I could see it hung from the wall, from the ceiling.
Sure. That's our goal was originally to hang it from the center part of the ceiling here, but things got in the way, so we decided not to do that. So anyway, thanks to the Pat Drivers Man, thanks to all our consigners bringing all this wonderful inventory in. My goodness gracious, I mean, gosh, we always hope to get to over 1,000 vehicles, but the reality of it is it possible? Is it doable? Is there enough vehicles out there to make it happen? And just because we have the space doesn't mean that people have enough cars to fill it. But I can tell you that in this part of the world, it doesn't seem to be a problem. There seems to be, I think if we were more aggressive in going after consignments, we could have 1,500 in here, although we couldn't fit 1,500 in here now. But I mean, if we did the things that we over and above what we do in our marketing to attract consignments, because I tell the guys that we're, first and foremost, we're in the consignment because the sales kind of happen based on the consignments that we get and the price points and all that. But if listen, it's hard to say how many cars are out there. And of course, it's that time of lifespan when the guys who've been collecting multiple cars are starting to think about thinning the herd.
Listen, there's a lot of nondescript buildings in Pennsylvania, and every time I pass one, I think, I wonder what's behind those walls.
Yeah. We saw that not
That's
too long
right.
ago.
That's right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We've seen that a couple of times here lately. It just, nondescript buildings and nondescript areas. It's always why is the rich guy always from some small town that, builds this wonderful museum? I mean, you think about Three Dog Garage up in Boyertown and the Boyertown Museum, which I'm on the board.
Right.
You think about those two places. Boyertown is not, in the middle of everything. It's far from everywhere.
It really is out there.
That was what we always said when we were in the classic car business in Branson, Missouri. We were in the very middle of the country, which meant we were far from everybody.
Yeah, that's why
far from everybody.
It's really wild that Branson has succeeded to the point it has.
Because it's far from everybody.
It really is.
Nobody is close to Branson except Branson. and that's about it. So
it's a vacation. It's a destination.
It is now.
It is a destination. Yep. But the point being is that when you're in the classic car business, they really don't care that you're in a destination. They care of how I can get my car to you or how I can get my car from you. And of course, being in the area that we're in now, I mean, there are haulers that go by. We could probably flag somebody down to haul cars just out on the turnpike.
That's true.
We just say, you got any extra space? And I'm sure we could find guys with extra space. Maybe there's a marketing thing there.
Oh, maybe.
Say, hey, we'll have to get with Garrett on that and see what we can come up with. So speaking of that.
Where did cars go this week?
Well, glad you should ask.
Got my cue.
How about Elverson, Pennsylvania? That's about as not far away as you could possibly
down the street.
Be. Bremo Bluff, Virginia, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard, Wilmington, Delaware, Mount Prospect, Illinois, Hamburg, Pennsylvania, Westchester, Pennsylvania, Kunkletown, Pennsylvania, Dunlap, Illinois, Wallace, Nebraska, Belmar, New Jersey, Holland, Pennsylvania, Stockton, California, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Cumberland, Maryland, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania again, and Fairfield, Connecticut. How many is that?
7, 8, 9, 10 states.
Oh,
10 states. California.
Stockton. And usually we have 5 or 6 for California. So, and our second most visited or second state that visits our website the most, I said that wrong, I'm sure, is California. So first is Pennsylvania, then California, then Texas, then Florida. So those are the top 4 states that go on our website. And we're getting close to 2 million page views a month.
That's incredible,
website, which is really great. It's phenomenal, and we're doing things to constantly improve it. And we have a marketing director now who's going to have focus on that as well too, and a lot of other things that we're doing, and something that we've needed for a while. And I've just been kind of wearing a few hats here and there. So
you have
decided
for 6
to
years.
Stop wearing every single hat. Oh, here comes a car.
I see it.
You see that?
It's like a hot rod.
It's a hot rod on a trailer, I think. So, and the guy stopped before we could actually see it. We see him in the reflection. If those of you who've never been to our place, our view is literally, there it is right there. It's a hot rod with a trailer, literally a little Coca-Cola type trailer. But our studio faces our front glass door, so we can see the front parking lot, and we can make sure that we can see anything that happens in the parking lot. And there's lots of things that seem to happen in the parking lot. I miss all this because I have no windows in my office.
I know. And when we get 5 cameras in here, we'll put one up here and then just switch it to the door.
I thought
when
you
start
asked
talking
for one camera.
Well, I know. No.
We're expanding, Stuart. You got to keep up.
We need one every corner.
We're going network and the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for keeping me in the loop.
We have a switcher now. We can switch.
Yeah, we can switch amongst
You just keep
ourselves.
signing the check. That's all
that matters.
We'll set it up.
Anyway, thanks to all of our consignors. Seriously, we appreciate it. And another one looks like it's coming in right now. A guy with paperwork in his hand and looks like he's bringing a car. And we appreciate that so much because, we have lots of people, thousands of people who entrust us with their automobiles and have over the years. I mean, we've consigned we're almost 6,000 consignments since we started.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And as we've always said, a large majority of them are from right around here. I mean, we consign all over the world. We sell all over the world, but certainly we consign mostly within a short distance from where we are. But that's expanding as we're doing more shows out and about.
Sure.
Doing things in Chattanooga.
And we
Florida.
have a rep kind of guy and one of your friends down in Tennessee. So
yeah.
So you see cars in the mall here with Tennessee plates. That's where they come
Absolutely. And Bill Borneman, our vehicle operations manager, is going to be at the Daytona Rod Run coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
I think it's next week because it's Thanksgiving week. Is that he figured out a really cool thing. He likes to go visit his daughter for Thanksgiving, and then he figured out there was a show that he could do, and then I ended up paying for the trip.
Well, there you go.
And I'm happy to do it because hey, I got a representative down there. He gets a trip out of it, so it's
deductible.
It's a win. It's a win-win for everybody. It's definitely a win-win for everybody. So, anyway, some of the new inventory in the one we did not talk about last week. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw that. It was at the end of the list last week. It's at the top of the list this week.
That's how it works.
And it's very cool.
1991 Ford Escort. Now, if I stopped there, everybody would say,
what?
What? But it's a GT hatchback.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cayman green metallic over titanium gray. It's garage kept and well preserved. It has the deluxe Marty report.
It has a Marty report. Wow.
I'm flabbergasted
that you can get one for an Escort.
For an Escort. I'm not sure I even believe it now.
I think that car deserves an ooh on the
right.
button thing.
Well, if this was, I guess I could, if I made it so it stood up a little bit.
There you go. Now it's right in the middle there.
Technology.
Ooh.
Wow. So a deluxe Marty report. I'm going to question mark that because I'm certain that we do, but I've never seen.
Maybe
one.
it's in color.
Man, I've never seen a Marty report for a Ford Escort and B for a car this new.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they exist. I guess it's one of 20,562, but it is spec.
And this has got the 1.8 liter double overhead cam inline 4 with a 4-speed automatic. So
this is the perfect Radwood car.
Oh, absolutely.
It's in really good shape, and I think it's a repaint, but it's perfect. And this is just something that just fit right in with Radwood.
Absolutely. And the oddball stuff like this really do well at Radwood because you see lots of Supras and Nissan 300ZXs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what Radwood is, it's the cars from the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
And the name Radwood comes from rad, which we said a lot back in the 80s and
rad.
90s. And wood from Goodwood, which is the Goodwood revival, which I don't really understand quite the connection of that, but that's what I read anyway.
Okay.
So, and I'll believe it because I read it and it's on the internet and it must be true.
That's right.
Of course,
it's all true.
It has to be true.
98% of statistics are not true, or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I like that. You're saving that one up for a couple.
I did. I thought about it on the drive over. We did a joke like that last week, and
if you record it, then you'll know. Like you recorded on your phone, like I did.
Oh, right.
Anyway, when we return, we'll have some more of this fascinating banter on the Classic Auto Mall podcast. And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Listen, if you don't get our newsletter, it's new at classicautomall.com, and sign up for our newsletter. And hopefully it'll go out because we're having some DNS issues that we've got to discuss later. Not you.
Yeah.
I wasn't anger towards you. I was just, it was just another thing that happens with, internet stuff. And now can't receive an email and have to change something, and there's some settings, and you have to have a degree and whatever. Now, you don't sound much interested.
Computer. Sorry. My mind is.
I'm very interested, Stewart.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, guys. When I have to ask for it, it doesn't seem real. So anyway,
well, it isn't.
Anyway, other new inventory in recently. I'll say recently because I don't even know how old this stuff is.
Right.
I mean, it could have been here for a month, maybe. Or
That's
a couple
true.
of weeks or whatever. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat for the third week in a row. 1966 Chevrolet Malibu Chevelle, Madeira maroon over white. This was originally a true SS car, which is the 138 code in the VIN. But this one's got an LS7 454 V8 with an auto gear M22 manual. This thing will go, and it looks fairly stock. It's frame off restored. The interior looks like showroom new. It's got a 12-bolt 456 gear axle, so 0 to 60 ought to happen in a blink.
And if you can get traction.
If you can get traction, and maybe it needs some traction bars. I don't know that it has them. I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
So anyway, really an amazing car and. Expertly built. I mean, it's just, you look at the detail and the quality on some of these cars that a guy who spends a whole lot of money and time and effort building these things, and it shows. I mean, you can tell it. And all cars look good from 20 feet at 20 miles an hour, but it's when you get up and really start looking. And I recommend that anybody looking at a classic car, get up as close as you can to it. Look at it with the discerning eye. Don't just glance at it and say, "Oh, that looks so nice," because you're going to get home and you're going to find things that maybe you didn't see, and shame on you because you were right. If you were right there with the car, you should know that. And if you're not right here with the car, call, ask one of our guys, and they'll take a video and they'll show you everything that they can possibly see about a car. If you can't see it on the video, they'll point it out anyway.
It's amazing how your mind gets altered when you're in a state of elation.
Yeah.
Buying a car, you get blinders on. It really does change your perspective of the car. And I mentioned this about the BMW. I got home, I started washing it. I'm like, where did that scratch come from? And where did that ding come from? I didn't see that at all.
It's so easy to be blinded because you look at the overall look of the car, and ultimately it's kind of like these realtors when they have property nowadays, when they offer it for sale, they have an aerial overhead shot of the house, and you think, okay, but nobody's ever going to see that. I mean, unless a guy's in the Goodyear blimp flying over your house or in an airplane, and the guy goes, "Oh, isn't that Bob's house?" But no, so nobody sees that perspective. So why do they show that perspective? Because it looks really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, whoa, that would be my house that nobody would ever see that side of. Huh.
Realtors have all kinds of interesting tricks though, because the lighting and the fisheye view of the rooms and stuff. You got to go see.
I used to do that when I first came out with the 360 views. Yeah. I did this for a company with a big fisheye lens and that, and it was just kind of a little side gig.
And it makes it look bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
But our pictures are pretty true to the car, and we try to take every angle, but it's still, you got to get here in person. We put it up on the lift so you can take a closer look. And
we do take underneath pictures that you can see, but certainly sometimes people are skeptical of pictures because they've had, they bought a car, they've tried to buy a car, and the pictures were better than the car itself. And it's hard to show certain flaws and faults in cars too, like orange peel on a paint.
Yep.
Which a lot of factory cars, I mean, even if it's original paint, could come from the factory with orange peel in it. That happened a lot. And an orange peel, for those of you who don't know, is your paint looks like the skin of an orange, which is dimply or like I'm not even going there. But it's one of those things that it's very difficult to show in a photographic setting. Now with a video, sometimes you can capture it if you capture as you're moving, because if you're moving on the light that's over the car or the vehicle is moving with you, then it certainly shows you different things. That's why I always question auction houses who had a turntable, because the turntable's turning the car, but also you're seeing like a light go down, like it's like it's like a magnifying lens down the side of the car as it turns,
Mhm.
and you can see stuff that you wouldn't see if a car just drove up there statically.
Right.
So I thought, maybe that's not the best thing to do.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's just my take on that. And of course, turntables are expensive, so I would think that those of you who have them would be thankful to me for pointing out that you don't really need one, and therefore you can save yourself a bunch of money. So anyway, other new inventory. How about the 1976 Lancia Scorpion?
Pretty
What
cool.
a name.
Yeah.
That just, that's the name that it's like
Scorpion.
badass.
Yeah. I don't know how many cars have used that name.
I can't imagine many.
Podcast at classicautomall.com.
Didn't the Mercure have some?
Did they have a Scorpion? Oh, they did have a Scorpion. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Wow, good call.
Yeah.
That's right.
A little Radwood car. The
Most people don't even know Mercure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Or XR4 Ti was the thing, but I think there was a
I
Scorpion.
think there was a
edition.
Scorpion model.
Yeah. For those of you who do know the answer to this, podcast at classicautomall.com. And you can tell us what idiots we are, because we don't get that but about 3 or 4 times a day, where we get an email from a guy, you don't know what you're talking
Right.
about. They never did this. Or
And we're not going to Google it today, so you can you fill us in on email.
Because I'm really too lazy just to turn here to the left and
Oh, you'll be
actually
off,
type.
Mike.
Well,
You'll
then
be
we
off.
can't hear you either.
You'll be
Well,
off, Mike.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
the reason.
I guess that's why the laptop should be right here. Maybe I
Well,
would use it more, and then I could
No,
I could research this stuff. But I think the charm in what I do is that I don't know everything. I don't know
it is-
anything.
it is charming.
That's the listener engagement.
That's right. I don't know anything.
It is charming. Now, manufacturers buy the rights to certain names, and I guess maintain that for a certain period of time, and maybe can
Right.
sell it. I don't know how it actually works. I do know that Cyclone. This is legendary that Ford or Mercury owned Cyclone with a C,
Right.
and so when GMC created the truck, they just made it an S, and they
Right.
bypassed any kind of rights.
Good thing they didn't make it with an F or something weird.
Flycone.
Flycone or
Actually, I like
F
that.
is silent. There's so many words that
Right,
are
right.
like
Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Yeah, it doesn't make, or Pittsburgh with an H on the end of it. Why is it just end with G? What the heck was that?
Somebody dropped their jack stand.
Yeah, it sounded like a metal pole falling on
Mhm,
something else.
Be
So,
careful with that lift back there. It's
Yeah,
dangerous.
I promised I wasn't going to say this.
Oh, they
but-
just brought in a T-Bird, put it on the lift. A
Oh.
62, I think, red convertible.
Oh yeah, that car is a recent sale or a deposit we have on
Mm-hmm.
it. And of course, they wanted Steve to come back and operate the lift, but apparently there was some
Oops.
curfew or something happened.
Kerplunk?
Kerplunk.
Almost dropped a Mustang on.
Yeah,
Kerfuffle.
or kerfuffle. That was the word I was looking for. Thank
But you
for
said
that.
you didn't give me any heat for it because you have done it as well, and I'm wondering what else you've done that I can do that I won't get heat. I won't get heat for.
Let's see. Let me start with a blank sheet of paper, and in about an hour, check back
Yeah,
with me.
that's
and
right.
I'll be,
I'm nervous for you because you've got your Cobra underneath another
I
vehicle.
won't touch it.
yeah, underneath my Mercedes.
So I accidentally hit a button and
Yeah. Well, actually you have to. What the hell is going on out there? So actually, I had the first lift I ever got. I had a Bronco up on it, and it was raised all the way to the top. And I started to lower it, and I thought I had
Mhm.
done the ratchet thing, and I was distracted looking away, and I looked back, and the whole thing was like
Ugh.
that. I mean, how it didn't come off, I have no idea.
R-
How
right.
it held in gear.
Yeah.
Of course, I just ran away. It's like, when in doubt, just run.
Uh-huh.
And got away from it, and waited for the guys to show up. And somebody showed up for work, and I said, "That something happened. Somebody screwed up that lift out there. Can you go see if you can check it out?" And of course, they just raised it back. It was pretty simple, but that's kind of like, that's one of the things that I
Uh-huh.
did. So
Okay,
I had done
good,
that. I
good.
wasn't mad at you. And the other was the whole T-Bird story. Did I ever tell that one? I'm
I
sure I
don't know.
did, about starting and it wouldn't start, and I was mad at my mechanic, and he was
Uh-huh.
supposed to have it ready for Saturday morning. And did I tell this?
I don't
Is this
know. That
ringing a bell?
does not sound
Well,
familiar.
I'm going to tell it again. And
All right.
if we
Haven't
did,
heard
we can edit
That's
out.
4 minutes. You got it.
So we sold, this was back, I don't know, 20 years ago. We sold in 1980, and we sold a Thunderbird, and the guy was coming, the shipper was coming to pick it up on Saturday morning. And so I told my mechanic at the time, I said, "Hey, make sure it's full of gas, make sure it's ready to go. I'm going to be here by myself. I don't have time to dink around with this. So get it all ready to go for me." So he goes, "Oh, no problem, boss.
Mhm.
When they say boss, and he's thinking about Friday night and some beer."
Uh-huh.
So he leaves on Friday night. I leave, and I show up about 7:00 the next morning. The shipper's supposed to be there about 7:15. Get in the car. Battery dead. Oh, okay. All right. I'm making a mental note to this guy, my mechanic.
Uh-huh.
So I get out and get the jump box, put the jump box on it. Out of gas.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm just thrilled now. So I go get the gas can. Thank goodness there's some gas. Usually it's empty, which would have really set me off. Pour the gas into the tank. Okay. All right. Fire it right up. Put it into gear. Won't go. Out of transmission fluid.
No.
I'm like,
Wow.
you are kidding me. Could there be anything else wrong? So I go over to the shelf and I grab some transmission fluid. Now the shelf is along a wall that's directly in front of the car. And the wall is my brand new offices that were just completed about a week earlier. Brand beautiful offices. So I go back over to the Thunderbird, the aforementioned Thunderbird, start pouring the transmission fluid in, and I'm pissed. And I'm pouring it in. And as I'm pouring it in, I'm realizing that something's moving and pushing against me. I had left the car in gear and running, and I'm putting the transmission fluid in.
Wow.
And as the transmission fluid is hitting the gears, it's starting to engage. And now it's really engaging. And now it's going at a pretty good clip towards my brand new offices with me in front of it as if I'm going to hold it back. And I'm sliding across the lovely, we had that concrete floor that was always dusty, you know, those ones that they didn't finish. And so I'm just sliding across that, 2 little marks here. And I'm not letting this thing hit my office. It's come hell or high water.
I'll cripple myself first.
My God, I'll show me. And so that thing is gaining momentum and we are really moving fast. And I'm thinking I'm inches. I mean, I'm going to die and it's going to ruin my offices and the car's going to be ruined. And at the last minute, the trucker had pulled up and came running down and jumped in and threw it into park. And thank God for that. I wasn't even thinking about like going. I thought if I let go of the front, somehow that everything will be over and that's it. So I can't leave the front to go run to the side and put the car in park. My brain wasn't working. It's like sitting down on the toilet and realizing that the seat's up and you're too far committed to stop.
I didn't need that picture, but okay.
So he jumps in, and of course, you know, you can imagine the meeting I had with my mechanic on Monday morning.
All right.
Oh, well, that was not a pleasant day.
Oh, I had a little car lot, and I took this Chrysler LeBaron and did kind of a rebuild on it. I wanted a convertible to drive, so I put it on a lot, tried to sell it, but I drive it. So it was a red, and I had it done a nice gray, had a red interior, and it needed brakes. So we had this guy that would just come and work outside, regardless of the weather, and just work on him around the side of the building. And he gets it ready to go. Okay, all right, I'm gonna head out for lunch. I put it in reverse. I go to back up, no brakes. Pedal goes to the floor. I back into a consignment Jeep,
nice
Grand Cherokee that was like the top edition, and I was just ready to murder him. And all they could do was say, "The look on your face as you went by the window is priceless." I was like, ah.
You know, we've all done silly things with cars. And of course, we learn our lessons, and it's usually the hard way, unfortunately. But I told that story of what happened to Boyd Coddington, who we were partners with. And he goes, I don't believe I'd tell people that story, Stewart. I think you should leave that one in the vault.
Well, it's out of the bag.
It's out of the vault now. So all 11 of our listeners who know it, if they tell 10 people each,
that's right.
They tell 10 before exponentially, it's going to be all over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It will be my claim to fame. They'll say, you know, we didn't care much for that Stewart until he told us that heartfelt story about the Thunderbird. So when we return, we will try to get through the Lancia Scorpion on the Classic Auto Mall podcast. We'll see you in a couple minutes. And we're back with the class. Boy, that was perfect timing. I did that just as perfectly as you could. We're back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. And it's a beautiful day. We are getting so many consignments in. The weather has been perfect. We've had very many mild winters over the past few years, but this one is starting out as mild as they come. I mean, we had a mild summer this summer. We only really
don't jinx it. Although I want snow. You can jinx it. I want the Farmer's Almanac saying it's going to be a wet winter. So bring it. I don't care.
So we last summer we only had a couple of weeks of really a bad summer, and then this winter, it's starting out. I mean, it's November and it's going to be 50-something degrees today. So, and sunny and no wind and nice. And so we're happy with that. And that allows our consigners to come in. People don't understand what bad weather does. It doesn't hurt our sales business. It hurts our consignment business because people don't want to bring their cars in. Salty roads, all that stuff that we understand. So anyway, it's before I was so rudely interrupted by our actual break. We were talking about the Lancia Scorpion. It's white over red. It's number 787 of 1806 built. It's got a 1.8 liter double overhead cam inline 4, 5-speed manual tranny, rollback roof, and groovy tweed seating. It's really a cool car though. And these things are they're like a Saab Sonnet. They're obscure, but they're starting to come into their own. It was like an upscale version of the X19 Fiat, which I don't think we've ever had an X19.
Is that right?
I don't believe. I don't recall seeing an X19 or a Saab Sonnet.
For
we
sure.
had a Saab 96.
A couple of 96s.
A couple of 96s that were here.
I wanted an X19 so badly.
Yeah, they were so cool.
My 6th grade teacher drove one. She was the coolest.
Oh man,
ever.
That's really cool.
She was. She was way ahead of her time. She was kind of like a hippie, mid 70s, and she had an red X19 that I got rides in. Man, that thing was cool.
What do you mean you got rides?
I was the teacher's pet.
See, now it's all coming together.
What is the Volvo that was a coupe? It was like a
P1800.
Yeah. One of my math teachers had one, and he was like he was the nerdy but cool teacher also.
Cool.
We had our English lit teacher had one of the first Honda Civics, and we picked it up one day and put it between two trees because it only had 2 doors. couldn't get it out.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was not funny to him.
No,
I don't think he was. It was, and thank God they didn't have cameras at the school because we'd all been suspended or expelled.
Now they're everywhere. Cameras are everywhere.
Listen, if I'm thinking about, doing something illegal, there's going to be a camera everywhere you go.
You wouldn't be too bright.
No, you really wouldn't. No. I mean, not only do you have cameras on light poles and traffic lights and in buildings and exterior buildings, every car driving by has got a camera. So somehow, some way, it's going to be recorded, or the cell phones are.
Everybody's got a movie camera in their hand.
Everybody's got a movie camera in their.
Hence the morning show bit. Crooks are stupid.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny that, but you look at all the video that you see on Facebook of things going awry down the highway because all these cameras that are on these cars that are just running, I guess, constantly, or maybe they turn them on when they see a guy starting to do the weaving fishtail, the big 18-wheeler.
Near-death experience coming here today.
Oh, nice.
As I'm driving on the turnpike, Pennsylvania Turnpike, I see this bunch of bubble wrap in the center median, and I figured it looked like it was coming over. It did. I'm afraid it's going to stick to the windshield, and I'm going to be blind. And fortunately, it stuck to the hood and my right mirror, but I still had to maneuver over 3 lanes to get off and pull it off the car. But it was like,
was it making the popping noise when you were driving?
I think some of it did.
Pop, pop, pop. Shots fired.
Shots fired. The thing about plastic bags, if you drive over a plastic bag and you don't see it on the other side, it could have stuck to your exhaust pipe, which can catch on fire. And we've had people have had that happen before. It's like parking in a field with grass.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your catalytic converter catches because they get kind of hot.
Yeah. Or some people have pulled in and they say my car smells, and sometimes there's a bag that's stuck to the exhaust. So
well, if you're
the outside, not the inside, you're on your own.
You're all on your own. That's like
those old fries.
Those repo cars that you used to see at the dealer auctions. You'd get one of those, and man, it was like, come on, people. Do you not realize that you ought to leave this car in decent shape? Because when they repo it, if they don't get every penny you owe, they're still coming after you. You don't just go, well, here's the car back, and we're all good, right? Yeah, we're all good if we get more money than you owe us. if we don't get more money than you owe us, then you still owe us money.
Mhm.
And you've trashed the car, so now it's worth $10,000 less, dummy. So people do that all the time. They trash it because they're going to show them.
Mhm.
I always thought it was kind of mean when people would do a voluntary repossession. They'd say, I can't pay it. Here it is. Here's the car. You don't have to chase me or anything. But they would still bang your credit as if they had to go and give
Sure.
you like you
Sure.
were trying to hide it.
Or they lie to you and tell you, oh, you know what? I'll give you $500 if you tell me where that car is. And it's like an ex-husband, ex-wife scenario. So the
Yeah.
guy's like, I'll take that $500, and then they never do. So, and of course, you hear all kinds of these horror stories from back in the day. Well, it's worse now because they know way more about you than they ever did. Remember when you used to fill out a credit app, they'd want your sister's name and your brother's name and your cousin's name. And the reason they did, and they didn't do it because they wanted to know, let them know that if if something happened to you, they wanted to be able to have people to call to say, hey, listen, your no good son-in-law or uncle or cousin is not paying his bill. Where is he? We want to find him. And so that's why they did that.
Wow.
Nobody really realized that when you're filling out and just giving them all the information. It's like going to a store and they go, and your email address? Oh, yeah. That's what. Oh, no. Wait a minute. I don't want to give you I don't have to do that. And now everywhere you go on the credit card, boy, I'm really digressing here.
Wow. Yeah. What were we talking about? Car?
The Lancia, it's Scorpion.
Yeah.
How about now where they want to ask you if you want to leave a tip for anywhere you go on a credit
and
card?
You're so embarrassed when you're cashing out. It's like, you're just handing me the food at the register.
It's everywhere
It's
now.
everywhere. Everywhere you go, they want a tip. And listen, if they were doing something over and above just, handing you, ringing it up and handing you your merchandise or whatever it was, then that would be, they made your sandwich or something at a Subway, or they did whatever, then, I guess, and the guy put a little extra meat on your sandwich, hey,
Right.
but I don't get that. And then you do feel guilty about it because you're like, well, gosh, now you're just being a tightwad. And so anyway, sorry for the digression there.
This is
shopping.
It's not just cars. This is turning into a variety show. We're
Shopping
talking
with
everything.
Stewart. Yes, we'll do that. So other new inventory, which are in segment 3, we're still on our new inventory.
Yeah.
That tells you how much I've been jibber jabbering up here. The 1970 AMC Rebel machine.
The machine.
Cool.
Frost white over black. One of 2,326 built. Correctly rebuilt 390 cubic inch V8, T10 4-speed, hood tack. Hey, this thing had the highest horsepower of any AMC car, 340 horsepower from the factory. That was the highest horsepower of any of them.
They should have called it the Beast because we actually did it. There's a nice video on YouTube at Classic Auto Mall. You can see a test drive of this absolutely incredible car. It's really a lot of fun.
And this is not a perfect car. This is not one it's got flaws on it. It could be taken to the next level if you so desired, or you could just drive the crap out of it and enjoy it. And because that's the problem. You make it too nice, then you're going to be like, I don't know that I want to drive this because I'm going to make it worse. I always I love it when the salesman would tell me about a car I was buying. Well, let me show you. There's a couple of rock chips. I'm like, good. He goes, what do you mean good? I go, well, that's out of the way. Now if I can go drive it, and if I get another rock chip on it, gosh, is the difference between 2 and 3 rock chips going to change the value? I don't think so. So I was okay with that. So, but these things, the AMC Rebel machines are very, very iconic. They were, out in the time when the Challenger and the GTO and the 442s and all that were popular, and not many people knew about the AMCs and the performance of that. I think cubic inch wise, wasn't there a 401 AMC?
Oh, there was. Yeah.
The Jeep Grand Wagoneer had one of those in it, and I'm sure other vehicles had them in it as well too. But I think it had less horsepower.
I had a Buick with a 401. It's probably a Buick
Nailhead.
engine in it. From
but it would really, like I said, it's not perfect, but it could be a great driver. And then if you wanted to make it a showroom car, it wouldn't be that difficult to do. So check it out. It's on our website, classicautomall.com, as are all of these cars.
Built in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So
well,
Kenosha, this is your chance to bring her home.
You know what else was built in Kenosha, Wisconsin?
No.
Those fire trucks.
Kenosha.
LaFrance?
No, there was the other one. Whatever. My dad went there.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Podcast at classicautomall.com.
How about new inventory? This 1968 Triumph TR250 Roadster. It's jasmine over black. I don't even know. Jasmine is a very, very pale greenish color.
Yes.
Well done restoration. Rebuilt original 2498cc inline 6. Dual Stromberg carburetors. It's got new brakes on it, so that's a good thing. And known history for many, many years. And TR50 was the TR250 was really, to me, one of my favorite Triumphs as far as the look goes.
Yeah.
The hood bulge, and it was just a cool car. And you don't see a whole lot of them. I don't know how many were. There was maybe, I don't know. They didn't make a whole lot of them, but I don't know the number of it. But they were pretty rare, and you didn't hardly see them in period here at all. You see them a little more now. I think they're becoming a little more popular now. I think, part of it is that they had a little more powerful engine than some of the other offerings that were British from that era, the MGs and the Spitfire Triumphs and the other stuff. This was an inline six and, almost 2,500 cc's. So it's a bigger engine than most of the cars of that era would have in them. So, but anyway, really cool. And it's got the mini light style wheels, which I think are really cool on those European style cars. Full disclosure on the next car.
Yes.
It's mine.
Oh, okay.
Mine for sale. The 63 Pontiac Grand Prix 2-door hardtop, ember red over red. Really an amazing restoration. This car is spectacular. It's pricey, but I argue that it's as nice a one as you'll find. It has 18 options, factory options. It's got the PHS documentation, 389 V8 with the added tri-power. It's got the 8-lug wheels, which are really, really cool looking. If you've never seen those or don't know what we're talking about, look on most of the Pontiac sites will show you the 8-lug wheels, and they're really, really cool. It's one of those ones. It's got cruise control, which is really unusual. There goes the list, Steve. You better go check it. Cruise control, which was golly. It's as if they're trying to make a lot of noise. It's like they're just pushing my button.
I forgot to close the room.
Yes, close the room next time. But this thing's got Wonder Touch power steering, power brakes, soft gray glass, power driver's seat, cruise control, the safety track differential. This was a luxury muscle car of the era. This was the guy in 1963 who had one of these he was the guy.
Yeah.
He was the local guy who was cool and wore the Ray-Bans and probably flew, had an airplane.
Right.
Only a Cessna 150, but hey, who cared back then? There was no such, there was such things as Lear jets and stuff, but you didn't know about them.
Right.
You didn't know about a Gulfstream G700.
Well, the paint on this is probably better than it was out of the factory, though. Right?
I would imagine so. And it's red, which is unusual for that color combination. That would have been a special order to get one of those. But yeah, like I said, I mean, is it pricey? Yeah. Is it top of the price point? Yeah. But I mean, I don't know that you'd find a better one or a better looking one. And it has the two things going for it that mean as much as anything with cars. And people argue with me about this all the time. And I tell them they're wrong because they are. Stance and color.
Yeah.
I mean, it has both of those.
It's
just when you walk up to it and you see it, you love it. And I'm not trying to oversell it. Listen, because you'll know that when you see the price. I'm not trying to oversell it. I'm trying to undersell it. So
just some cars stand out here, and that's
one that does. So anyway, when we return, we will talk. Well, we got through all the cars, so we can have other things to talk about. So there's a Ferrari that sold for big bucks. Don't forget all of our websites that we're on, which I don't have in front of me somehow.
We'll get it. We'll get it from segment 4.
Oh, wait a minute, maybe. No, I have it right here. As I turn away from the microphone.
That's okay.
We're on, how about Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Index, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Plus Alexa, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Pocket Casts, Listen Notes, Player FM, Google Assistant, and America's Web Radio. Don't forget, we're on there every week. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with the Classic Auto Mall podcast. And we're back. That was kind of a wiggly point. It's like go. You know, I can work under any circumstances.
That's
It
right.
doesn't matter.
Adapt.
I'm an adaptable guy. I'm a chameleon. I'm
It's what it is.
chameleon-esque.
It's almost like live radio.
Jonathan well, it is live radio when you pop the microphone like that. Jonathan last week said I was effervescent. So,
Ooh.
So there
Well.
you have it. So, I don't know how many cars I have Sirius satellite radio in, but the bill is getting to be a little out of hand. I'm sorry, and I'm not complaining about Sirius because I love Sirius.
You have it in all the cars?
I have it in most. I don't.
So at least four.
Four. I have four.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
They're going with an app special. They're changing the logo, which is
Yeah.
weird. The XM is almost gone.
Gone. Yeah, nobody even
It's a
knows.
big S with a star.
My buddy signed up with them back when they offered lifetime signups
Mm.
for like $199,
Mhm.
and they are desperate to get.
Oh,
off
yeah.
of it. They don't
Wow.
like that at all. Well, it was like the guys who signed up for the airlines thing and unlimited, tickets that you could. For American Airlines, you paid $150,000 back 25 years ago, and you could fly unlimited.
I worked at a building in DC, 85 studios in that
Right.
place. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, I worked at the Voice of America, which also had 85 studios.
Right.
And in 10 years, it went from a cartridge machine, a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and a turntable in every booth
Right.
to one turntable and one reel-to-reel in the entire
Just
building.
fed the
Everything went
whole-
digital.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's amazing how, think about the Sirius radio and what it's done. The satellite radio market has been amazing because the great thing about it is, remember traveling in the days when you had to flip through the dials and you had to find a radio station. And it'd be a really good song on. It'd be a really good song on, and it'd just be fading away. And what are we gonna do? We got nothing to listen to, and you didn't have anything cool.
Right.
And now, my phone's got 6,000 songs on it or whatever. And if that doesn't satisfy me, then I've got Sirius with 47 channels. No, 240.
Yeah, a lot.
channels.
Yeah.
200 and something channels.
Hmm.
And the money that they paid, like they paid Howard Stern, and and then on Spotify, Joe Rogan. It's amazing the amount of money that they pay these people.
Yeah.
To do either a show on Sirius or Spotify or one of the podcasts. We were looking at the most viewed YouTube videos the other day, and it's amazing how many YouTube videos have over 1 billion views.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Billion
Hmm.
views.
It's amazing.
And Baby Shark is the number one. And it's
Is that right?
13.5 billion
Oh, my.
views.
Oh,
I bet you they've done well monetizing.
I'll
that.
bet they have. But they
I
did
can
all right.
imagine.
I do have a complaint about the tire companies now, though. I've heard a
Okay.
commercial they're talking about now versus then.
Yes.
They used to say, if you could take a penny and you can see the top of Lincoln's head,
Right.
then you need to replace your tires. Now they're saying if you could take a quarter, which means there's more tread depth, so you're replacing your tires sooner.
Ah.
Right.
I
yes.
don't know. I think it's a
Tricky.
conspiracy.
Well, I think that's the way people get things in their head, and they think that that's the only way. Damn it! If I do that one more time, fire me. I think people get stuff in their heads, right or wrong, all the time. If you think about it, people have misconceptions about lots of things,
Hmm.
and people think that things are a certain way, and they'll argue with you about it, and then they find out that they're wrong, and they're like, "Oh, I never knew that." Well, maybe before you argued with me, that you would have checked that out. But I digress from that. Anyway, satellite radio thing's got to end because there's cars that I don't even drive that I pay for.
They're going to a subscription
Yeah.
only model or streaming only.
Or
if you
streaming
want.
only, yeah. So
and you just sync it in your car.
right with one or the other. I guess they're getting rid of Apple CarPlay in
Mm.
cars, so that's going away. And
So all those old XM satellite radio, the old school
Yeah.
ones, they're obsolete.
I
Like
would imagine
I've been saving them for
No,
years,
they're
thinking
still, they're
thinking I
still
I
for
can use
now.
them.
workable. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because the satellites are up there and they have, and they
Ah.
actually there's military stuff on them as well,
right.
so that they are going to be up there for some time.
Right. Well, it's like anything. Once those satellites go up in the air, they pretty much stay until they disintegrate or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
or they go up in the lack of air.
yeah. We were talking about earlier. Well, briefly we spoke about it. RM just sold. Well, when we're recording today, November the 15th, 2023, Ferrari GTO, the highest price, most expensive Ferrari ever sold at auction, $51,705,000. And okay, if it's 10 and 10, that's a commission of $10 million to the auction company.
Yeah,
So
no.
not a bad single
It's
sale.
a good day.
It's a 62, which is a very good year. The year I was born. 330 LM 250 GTO Scaetti bodied. I mean Scaetti car, most expensive Ferrari ever sold. It was the only GTO in 62 raced by the Ferrari factory. Second overall at the 1962 Nürburgring. And it was the Sicilian Hill Climb Championship runner-up, which I don't never even heard of, but I'm sure if you're in Sicily, then that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But formerly owned by a chairman of the Ferrari Club of America, it has had fastidious care over the years. That's a big word in the collector car world these days. And it won all kinds of awards, the best of shows, and documented and build sheets and all that stuff. And we were talking about earlier off the air about what would you do with a $51 million Ferrari? Well, anything you want, because you can afford a $51 million Ferrari. But there's more of these out there, and you see them at vintage events, and you see them at historic racing. And guys like Rob Walton from Walmart has one, and he races it, and I guess he figures, well, the praise and knows that probably the most valuable part of that whole car is the serial number that's on the car with a Ferrari plate on it, because probably as a race car, many of, if not all of the parts are maybe not original. Maybe there's nothing original on that car anymore except the trim plate or the VIN plate or the serial number plate, I should say. They weren't VIN numbers until 1980, 81 when they went to 17 digits, which I had an interesting thing. A guy talking to me yesterday who's with a law enforcement guy, we'll just put it that way. And he said that there's been talk about taking serial numbers that are less than 17 digits and having them retitled with all having 17-digit numbers with the manufacturers over the years, and even Model A Fords and stuff like that. God. I don't know how you would do it.
How would you do that?
I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things that they go, oh, that's a great idea. Well, go do it. Well, no, I can just tell you how to do it.
I would think they'd have to probably go to 20 digits or something too, just because of the extra volume of vehicles.
Yeah, you're adding that many more vehicles. But we have weird things happen all the times with less than 17-digit serial numbers. So, and anything but pre-1980 had less than 17 digits. So it wasn't a standardized issue of numbers. One being United States, two being Ferrari, GM, whatever it was, and so all the way down the line of and it'll tell you a lot about your car. The newer you get in the cars, some of the serial numbers back in even the 60s would tell you about your car, and some would tell you nothing.
That's right.
And some you just have no way to decode. So there was 442s from certain eras that there's no way to know if they were a 442 or not. And there's a lot of gray area out there. So, but I don't know how they would fix it. And I don't know how you fix, though, the fact that there might be a car in California that has the same serial number as a tractor in Georgia. And how do you know? How do we know? We don't know. So one of those things they're going to have to figure out, because it's becoming more and more of a problem. And especially because all these states are now talking. There's a national database, a NMVITIS, and it's got NMVITIS or whatever, National Motor Vehicle, blah, blah, titling and whatever. And they're all talking between all the states, and this didn't used to happen. It used to be when you sold a car, you sold it within your county, and heck, the thing probably never left the county. Nowadays, we're selling cars all over the world, and it might be the one thing that needed to be federalized and standardized is titles and car numbers and serial numbers and all that. But again, how do you do it? I don't know. So we'll just keep working our way through it. One of the added benefits that Classic Auto Mall does for you is we find out that your car has this problem. And you don't find out after you sold it on your own to a guy in California, and all of a sudden he calls you and I can't get this car titled, and he sues you, and now you got to pay for the car to have been shipped to California and shipped back.
That's right.
And you have an unsold car, and you have to give him his money back. And so that's another feature that
service we provide.
Yeah. We run those numbers and make sure that that the car is everything it's supposed to be, and that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And if they're not, we let you know and we try to fix it. And sometimes we can, sometimes though we can't. So that's the difficult part of it, is that not everything is fixable. Most things are, though.
Yes.
Most things have a legitimate explanation to why they're wrong, or why that they were, in the wrong place, or the number was whatever.
I mean, out of the 6,000 consignments over the past 6 years, maybe a handful of serious VIN issues.
Yeah, one that just doesn't even match at all, has no reference to the title, and therefore you can't really prove ownership. That's the problem that you run into. But most of them are 1 digit off. They transpose the number. It went 1 2 3 4 is now 1 2 4 3, and that's an easy fix. The local law enforcement can come out. They can sign off on it. They looked at it. Yes, that's a transposition of numbers. We'll fix it for you. Blah blah blah. Move on. The other thing that we run into in the state of Pennsylvania is special construction, which are basically every kit car has no year in the year column, in the year place on the title. Right. Therefore, when you send a title to California or Texas or Oregon or wherever, and they go, we can't take this, it doesn't have a year on it. So we have to send extra paperwork with every title that we send so they can show their local DMV, wherever they happen to be, look, this is what Pennsylvania does. This is legitimate. And then they go, oh, okay, well, we'll let it slide. However, most individuals would not know that. And so, again, another added bonus of things that we do and the services that we provide at no additional cost to you. I mean, that's our due diligence, is because we want to protect not only our customer, we want to protect ourselves.
Is it one less digit, like a 16-digit VIN, or do they put a star in there in place of the year? What are
I mean,
how does it look?
There's VIN numbers that are 5 digits long. You know, I mean, you have.
Well, I know that, but I mean, in the kit car, and they don't have the year. How would a person know that?
I don't know. That's the thing that you don't know. I mean, there is a serial number. Usually they're state assigned, where it's PA 1177832, and it's a state assigned VIN number. And that's what the guy was talking about the other day about what they should do maybe for all the cars, is to have those. But
when it's a replica, like a Cobra replica, like a 65 Cobra, and it has a special, what do you call it? Special build.
Yeah. Special construction.
Special construction.
Yeah.
But you can register it as a 65, right?
People are able to do that sometimes if they were proactive about it. Some people just get their title. They don't even know what's on it. They don't look at it. They fold it up, put it in a drawer. And then 2 years later, when it's time to sell the car, they pull it out and they go, oh, well, it doesn't have his 1965. It doesn't have Cobra on it. It just has special SPCONSTRUCT and no year. And of course, but there is a serial number, and sometimes it can be the actual number from the car, like a factory 5 Cobra kit car has a factory 5 serial number, and therefore a lot of times that's on the title. But there can be all different, and there's all kinds of pitfalls with all of this. And our point to all this is that's why you pay us to do what we do. Correct. That's why you pay us to sell your car, because we take all of the headache out of it and put it on our shoulders. And if there's something you have to do, we can pretty much give you a roadmap of how to do it. And so you're not flying blind. I mean, we're in it with you. If we can't sell your car, then it doesn't make us any money, doesn't make you any money. So we'll also talk about one last thing, the continued F1 dominance by Red Bull. My goodness gracious, they are just killing it. And of course, coming up to Vegas, which if you're listening to this on America's Web Radio on Saturday the 18th, the race will be tonight at 1 a.m. if you're in the Eastern time zone. Because it's a night race at 10 a.m.
Oh, that's cool.
10 p.m. race in Vegas. And of course, they didn't think it through that Vegas can actually be pretty darn cold this time of year at night. It'll be a beautiful, sunny 80-degree day. And the last race they had in Vegas, when they had them at Caesar's Palace, they had it in the middle of summer, and it was miserable.
I was there. It was brutal.
Oh, it was. Yeah. I was at the Long Beach race in that same era. So a lot of fun. Anyway, congrats to Red Bull. And also RM has got an auction coming up this Friday, which will have been yesterday if you're listening on the 18th. And they were auctioning Lewis Hamilton's first F1 car, Mercedes F1 car, his 2013 Petronas AMG car, $10 to $15 million estimate. And it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. So anyway, when we return next week, we might have a guest on.
All right.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Tune in.
You'll be surprised. You'll never know. Anyway, thanks for listening. Catch us on classicautomall.com. See you soon.